Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Standing on Business, brought to you by Siblings Rivalry with me, Talita Ndima. Now, today, as per usual, we have two more special guests, the founders of Mental Matters, Dr. Nokukanya Kanyile Linake. She said, say it all, don't say it at all. And Ms. Kuku Masondo. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for the invitation. I think I was thinking on the way here, this is our first interview together.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys are talking about mental matters by yourself?
Usually, like, one person will say, okay, can we talk to this one? And then the one is available, then the other one's not available. Then we're like, so this is very nice to do.
Just like a tag team, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, if you can, I can't, or vice versa, or whatever. But
we got lucky.
Nice.
Thank you for coming. I want to know, what is Mental Matters? Let's start there, and then we can maybe go in reverse and find out about a little bit about you guys and why.
You want to take it?
Okay, so I'll take it because I actually wrote the brief. I wrote the words. I wrote the English. Okay, so Mental Matters South Africa is an organization that we started. It's actually Gugu's brainchild, but I jumped on in 2018 after the first event. We're an organization that seeks to destigmatize mental illness in the youth as well as society at large, but also to promote mental wellness. And so we do that through seminars primarily that aim to educate the people that come to the seminars, but also to provide tools, practical tools, either in the form of giving them contact of therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists that they can be in contact with, actually bringing those healthcare providers to the events to either share information or provide those tools, and also giving like a space for people to network, people living with mental health challenges, but also healthcare workers in the same network, so that when they talk to each other, we can also find out, how does this affect you when I'm prescribing this medication? How does this affect your life, your appointments? How do they make it difficult for you to, have relationships, have a good job, etc.? So that's basically what we are all about.
Okay, perfect. And you said that Gugu's kind of started it, right? And Gugu, why did you start this? Why did you feel the need, or did you see a gap in the space for this kind of organization?
Gap is such business talk, but it's the language. I think for me, I'm an individual living with a mental health condition. So with my history, I think when I think back, I can recognize it from as early as 14. And then I got diagnosed at 26.
Okay.
So that's 12 years of question marks, you know what I mean? I think towards the end, I was like, I know it's something. I just want someone to give it a name. Because if something has a name, then you have a way of addressing it and treating it and so on and so forth.
For sure.
So after my first hospitalization to a psychiatric facility, it literally just dawned on me that there's not enough information. Initially, obviously, it was for the Black community, because within the Black community, it's always magloile or something spiritual. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it is. Please don't quote me on that. But it was a matter of, rather we give the factual information, rather we give you enough. And if it sparks or something in you is like, maybe I should look into that, then you go ahead and you do the research for self. But we equip you and we give you just enough information for you to have that curiosity to continue the journey forward and say, okay, I think I have this, I see these symptoms in self, and X, Y, and Z.
Okay. And the way it started, is it the way it is right now, or did it start in a kind of different space and evolved into exactly what it is right now?
It is, the gist of it is, the nature of it is the same. The nucleus of it is the same. Obviously, it was on a smaller scale than it is now. We have grown, we have gained a lot of credibility, which makes other people want to either invest in us, want to be part of us, or just want to be in that space. Because if you are in that space, it's so beautiful. It's such a nice, comforting space, in the sense of it's a group therapy session. It's comforting, but also it is unnerving. It makes you uncomfortable.
Of course.
But the kind of uncomfortability that makes you ask yourself certain questions for self-actualization at the end of the day.
For sure.
Yeah.
Nokukanya, why did you feel the need to be a part of Mental Matters in the first place?
So I've always felt that I was a community health advocate, even though I specialize in pediatrics, which is treating and dealing with children. The core of my being and the core of where I really find my purpose is in community health. either through education or empowerment, because I find that if I can help one person in a community, when they have the right tools, they can help identify problems and also give advice to people that's factual, correct, but also non-judgmental for the society that they're in, right? So I think it's very important for me, because of the language of mental health that I've grown up with. You know, exactly like Goku is saying, people would say that magloile or uyahlanya. It's very insensitive for the person who's going through that challenge to have to deal with, firstly, people calling them names, but then secondly, having to ask for help when someone is calling you and stigmatizing you in that way. I felt as a medical professional, I had the knowledge and the know-how to invest in that, because I would be able to get access to those people, but also fact check the information that was being shared. I think that's very important for us. We want to share evidence-based information, so we don't just bring on a guest who just happens to have this following and they're a mental health advocate. We actually say, okay, relative to the event and the topic that we're focusing on that particular event, if you have a huge social following, how does that help us for that event? What story can you share? If you are a healthcare professional, what information can you bring in? And when you do share that information, is it going to be healthy for people to intake? It's not going to be biased to one side or the other, but also is it something that's going to be easy for them to implement within them? So I felt like as a healthcare professional, but also someone who believes in community empowerment, that was a role that I could help Google with.
Okay, so what does it look like now? I'm at a mental matters. What do you call them? Conferences,
Seminar event,
event, right? I'm from what I saw on your social media, they have titles, so they'll be very specific to like a certain type of mental health matter. What does it look like? So I want to attend one, right? And then I'm like, okay, cool. It's on the 7th of May. I'm going. What happens
7th
then?
of June.
June. Oh, sorry. Is that the next one?
The next one's the
7th of June is the next one. So what's okay? Tell me about the next one. What is the title of the next one?
So obviously in the beginning, it was based on anxiety, this, depression, this, all the topic, the hot topics. But then as we grew, we saw a need to theme it, because obviously the last one we had was spirituality and healing, you know what I mean, in the sense of there's so many people dealing with this, and to ensure that it does capture a larger audience. Spirituality means so many different things to different people, but now the next one we have is on parenting. And that was so important for us, because we also, as where we are in life, you know, I would say I'm a single female, and Nogukanya is a mom and a wife and a healthcare or a professional. So our parenting journeys look different. The next event, we ensured that we have people from different walks of life, in the sense of Mushandiki, who is, I don't know what the politically correct term is, but a homosexual black single dad. You know what I mean? We have other speakers that will be announced next week, but they've gone through different journeys on a parenting picture.
Yeah, because the picture looks different to everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also there's those that are like, this is not my thing. This is not for me. Parenting is not for me. It's not my journey. But also now in society, people are either pointing at them or calling them names. There's a popular Metro FM DJ who is vocal about her journey type of thing. And in that moment where I find it does become evident and come to the surface in public, whatever, it's a matter of how do you now manage being okay with saying, that's the journey is not for me. And that's also okay. But now society puts on certain pressures where some would find that they now take on a journey that is not for them. You know what I mean?
And that happens way more often than we think it does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you manage just the mental pressures that society puts on you? So it's going to be so lovely. But then I'm not saying this because I'm me and the role I play in the picture, but it's just because it's so pivotal, especially in the audience that we do have. Most of them are either entering the journey, most of them are in the journey, or most of them are towards maybe the end when you say adulthood and bye-bye, so one type of thing. So it caters for everybody, and it's not generic catering for everybody. Every single thing that we do is very intentional, very thought through. Every single touch point that we touch, and from being aware, we are intentional. We make sure that we do right by the person that bought the tickets. as you mentioned, we're an NPO. Nobody's getting money out of this. Every single cent that we do get from investors is literally towards ensuring that we produce a quality, high-class event, but that also on the flip side educates thoroughly and factually so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are conversations. What I'm gathering is these are conversations that people on a stage are having, right? Some people will be mental health professionals, right? And some people will be, people we know like Mushe and Diki. What is the role then of the audience member? What do we get to share, or do we get to ask questions, or what does that look like for us?
So just to take it back to what Gugu was saying, everybody that has ever come to a Mental Matters South Africa event has been a person who lives or knows someone who lives with a mental health challenge, right? Which is every single person on the face of this earth, right? We have particular speakers that have these niches that we can tap into because they have a story to tell that we feel can help you as the audience member either relate to and try to apply some of the learnings from their story into your life. But also sometimes it's to identify, oh, this sounds similar to something I did. This is what they did. Maybe that could help me, right? So when we have audience members coming on, a big part of what we do is Q&As or question and answer sessions, where after each session, it's about a 45-minute session. We'll have about 10 or 15 minutes for the people who are sitting there to ask questions. But we also have a lunch that breaks up the second and the third session. So if we look at a normal day, we'll have 2 sessions in the first part. We break for another 45 minutes where everyone gets food. Sometimes we usually put the heaviest topic just before lunch because we understand that mental health can be very heavy for a lot of people, and it can be difficult. It can be triggering for people. So we also find that we just need a little bit of a break. And we get food. You can network with everyone, speak to the healthcare providers. We also provide opportunities for people who are in that space to share contacts, business cards, etc. If they have books, for example, they're able to share that. And then at the end, we have the last session. And we like to draw out the last session just a little bit because that's where we really feel that the audience engagement is important. That's where all of our speakers, or the ones that are able to stay to the end of the event, are able to kind of answer questions a little bit more in depth. But also, if we have a panel discussion, we have a lot more professionals there that can go into those topics that are really sitting on your mind. And you might be scared to have asked them individually. And now is the platform that you can ask.
100%. So I know that mental health just recently on social media, just on the internet, has been like a complete buzzword. Everybody's kind of focusing on it. Everybody's kind of saying, look, I have a problem. People are being open, which is amazing, because I feel like we've been sitting in the dark in terms of information, firstly, for a long time.
Yeah.
Have you come to a place maybe where you've had pushback from certain communities or certain people or anything like that are going, you guys don't know what this is, or why are you guys talking about this, or any negativity coming to that space at all?
Not entirely. Also, for me, I don't focus on that.
Sure.
The only thing maybe actually recently I came across was just a negative comment. Then I just took a step back. I was like, okay, breathe.
Do you know what's funny about negative comments? There will be 1 out of 100 and it'll like take you off your rails.
I was like, okay, take a step back and come back. Because and not to highlight on it, I just spoke about the accessibility of our events and what we're doing. Of which, honestly, I would like you to come if you are available, and obviously your brother, just to see the event, you know what I mean, and the quality. And fine, it's great to highlight social issues or health issues or whatever issues. Everything costs something.
Of course.
And I'm not making it about that. But to that, for me, that comment just threw me off a bit because... Bandla, they are dirt cheap for the class and nature and integrity of event that we do put forward. So I don't pay it. I just hated that comment. I didn't focus on it.
Yeah, sure.
Because
delete them. Just delete them. It no longer exists.
It was just that, okay, that's how you feel. But I don't have the capacity and the energy to focus on that. Whereas there's so many challenges that we go through to even put an event together. There's so many, but it's not like you're gonna get there and then be like, oh, you know. At the end of the day, we're so passionate about the work and what it means to the next person and their community that things like that, it's a smudge in a greater picture.
And just to expand on that, I think a lot of people have asked us multiple times to go back and explain what depression is, what anxiety is, what all the different things are. And the reason we initially did that in the beginning is because we knew, okay, this is something that people need to know. But we found more and more that it's easy to Google that definition.
Yeah.
And in the actual talks, we do tend to go over that again and say, okay, but what I think we do really well is when we looked at, for example, when we did an event on work, what work and mental health looks like. We looked at, okay, when somebody says they're burnt out, yes, you can know the definition of burnout, but what does that actually look like from a productivity point of view? How do I recognize the signs in my colleague that they have signs of burnout? We're going to be talking about parenting. We're going to be speaking about how it's important to keep your mental health intact so that you can take care of the mental health of your child. So even if your mental health is fine, what are the signs that you need to look for in your child that point to mental health challenges? That's a lot better for me than knowing a definition of mental health and knowing how to treat it with the medication and what. So I think we look at a different aspect of it because we want to relate it to a particular theme. There's so many mental health topics that we can cover.
For sure.
There's every single part of life has a mental health issue attached to it, and mental health issues come out from every part of life.
100%.
So what we want to do is package it in a way that is particular. If you look at our MC, Oluetu, Lishabane, she is incredible. She is like, knows anything there is to know about parenting. She does a lot of work with organizations that speak to parenting topics, feeding, etc. She herself is a doula. So you find that she kind of has that journey from the beginning of a child's life until raising her own children.
Sure.
And she's going to be steering the ship. She would be a different, she wouldn't be able to fit in a different conversation. But because of who she is, because this is the life that she lives, we feel that the information she's going to be bringing is going to be perfect for this seminar. Another seminar will have a different topic and there'll be different speakers. Musha is going to be there. We've just recently announced Gina Kaufman, who's going to be there as well. So every single person that comes on has a unique perspective that they can bring, which we feel everybody is going to benefit from. We're always open to suggestions, but we also ask that when you criticize and you comment, give us a suggestion as to what you would like to see.
For sure.
Because that way we can make it constructive instead of just, why are you guys not in Durban? Get us a sponsor for us to come to Durban.
You got 500,000 for us,
Please. Exactly. It's actually not expensive to put on these events, but because of the quality of speaker that we want, because of the caliber of venue. If you look at the venue we're at now, it's in Rivonia. It's really beautiful. Nedbank has sponsored us with that venue for the past 18 months. And we've been so blessed that they've been able to do that. That venue is not cheap.
Yeah, for sure.
So if we have to go to another place, we then have to get... So we're saying we're more than willing to come to a Cape Town, to come to a Durban.
Invite us, we'll come. Yeah.
Give us an opportunity, even if it's a contact to say, this is the person you should speak to, because we're already doing that, but we might not know exactly where that place might be, and you might have that contact for us. So we're always open to suggestions.
For sure. What is the general age group that you find gravitates towards your guys' thing, or is it very all over the place? And men or women? I always want to know that part. Who cares more?
I wouldn't say who cares more.
No.
I'll phrase it another way, as an advertising girl. But also just on that note, factually, the stats that we have is between 24 to 35.
Okay.
And it is predominantly females. That's, what the numbers are saying when you look at the back end. But those are the people. But also, I would like to encourage men to attend, because obviously we know the stats surrounding male suicide and how they battle with their mental health and not knowing where to go in the moment where now, zap it. So I would literally say, please, if you can, it's 250 Rand a ticket. Literally, it's a month away from now. At the end of the day, Oh, there's great food. Oh my God, there's fantastic food.
For $250, like that's good. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think because of just societal expectations, the female obviously sometimes is the primary caregiver and is the one that has to steer the ship in the home largely. Not to say women do invest more in these type of things. That's also something that we need to think about. It's also a matter of from a capacity. You know what I mean? Every little touch point in society plays a role, whether from the profession that the men of the house has and the time they have and things like that. So I'm just glad for now that there is someone in the household that's saying, oh, okay, this is the chance, which is now the recruitment job of, okay, cool, you're going to come and you're going to see the value. And just to circle back a bit, in the sense of the event, the Q&A is so important because then you get to speak. Fine, you can look at my panelists and say, I know about you, girl. But then I look at you who's sitting next to me and you tell me what you're my child. Yeah. But then I relate to you in the realistic sense of being a person.
Sure.
Because before we are anything else but people, right?
Yeah.
And uzoban utbasa bamphatalile lona, that's why I should so or whatever the case. But if now ukhanya next to me says yo ingane yami angisazi ngenzeni, yabona, then now it links it to oh, okay, cool, and then it links it to the professional or the speaker that we have at the time for credibility.
For sure. Do you guys think, I mean, as you mentioned, the ages 24 to 35, that's relatively young.
Yes.
And people older than that, I mean, I'm 42 and I know that there's a part of me that go, I'll be fine, man. You know, and I don't know if that's linked to my age at all, or how close I am to like the next generation. But do you guys find that older people do not maybe not take care of, but like don't pay it much mind, the mental health issue?
I think we just come from different generations that have different perceptions of what hard work looks like, right? So our parents' generation, it was, you got to work, you can't complain. Also remember, our parents had apartheid. They didn't have avenues to complain and have things to be done in their favor. If they complained, it either got worse or, you know, they were just completely ignored.
Yeah.
We are now the generation after that where when we say something, there's at least some kind of a fuss that gets made and we're able to effect a kind of change. So we have a little bit more of a voice, but now we're stuck because we haven't seen those patterns being, you know, played out in our lives.
We're the pioneers now.
Yeah, we have to like tell people, okay, this is what I want to advocate for. And then they complain and say, you're too loud, you're too aggressive, you're too, you know, all these slurs that are used for people who speak up for themselves. So why it's important for us that I don't necessarily worry about the age groups yet.
Okay.
Because as long as I'm getting someone, someone is going to go home and they have a parent, they have a child, they have a colleague, they have a friend who is in a different age group. Okay. And that, if you in this generation can recognize a pattern in another generation, you can, with love and with kindness, identify that and say, I think this is what's happening. Can we get some help? Now, again, we're starting to see like parents of some of the participants coming, like people are coming back with friends or people are coming back with their parents. So even for me, I know my husband comes to all of the events and then every now and then like a friend of his will come or, you know, one of his golfing buddies will come.
Lovely.
And even though I understand how awkward it is for guys to like be like, okay, we're going to go and have this mental health event. What we want with this parenting one particularly is because we understand that parenting a lot of the time falls on women, but men are fathers too.
100%.
Men are absent dads too. Men are deadbeats. Men are exceptional fathers too. Men also feel the pressures of parenthood just as much as moms, just in a different way. And so we want to speak to young men, old men, and people who are experienced. And even if, you know, you're in a different age range, we feel like you will eventually go back and look at your dad and maybe be like, I understand why you raised me this way. And these are the kind of traits that I want to take and pass on to my child. But maybe this one I won't take because it was a bit hurtful for me.
No, for sure. Yes, go ahead. Yes,
add
please.
on to what Zukanya said. I think when you mention your age and then you continue to ask the question, when we started the interview, you mentioned buzzword. You mentioned, hey, it's a thing now, you know. And within buzzwords and what people are focusing on, it is the millennials that are actively now trying to make sure their mental health is taken care of. They're the ones that say, oh, if I'm not feeling well, I ain't coming to work. You know, all those things. So to echo what Kanya said, in the sense of the principles of how our parents and the generation prior to us was raised, they don't have that option, or they were taught that you don't have that option. You can't not go to work. You can't decide, hey, today you can't be burned out. You know what I mean? Which has severe consequences. So in us having these conversations, like she said as well, it's, if you at least come next time, uzobuya nomunye, you know. For example, my parents are in Sokona Pumalanga, which is like 2 hours away. They came to the first one and they were like, okay, we see you. And then they brought my aunt. My mom has 3 siblings. Then they brought my aunt, and then the next one they brought another aunt. But the other one had shown interest in coming, and their husbands as well. So it's a conversation where they are now seeing what, oh, okay, cool. And sometimes people just want someone to say to them, it's okay to stop. And that changes a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a permission that one shouldn't have to want, a validation.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to want. But if someone says to you, it's okay to take a break, and it's okay to not be okay right now. But in that, you know it's okay. Right now, I'm not okay. And there's that acceptance of, I'm correct now. But then it's like, okay, I'm correct, but what am I going to do? Because you can't not be okay and then decide, okay,
I'm just giving up. Yeah.
That's also why when the bigger conversation of suicide is a matter of, at the end of the day, there's certain chemical, neurological, other factors that do contribute to that. So it is very naive for one to just talk about that, especially one who doesn't have an active mental ailment that's bothering them in that regard. So that's the conversation. Like, if awukho right, it's okay. And also, you can't fix something that you don't know is currently broken at the time.
100%.
Then we start the conversation.
Okay, so what I found, I mean, I hate speaking on behalf of other people, but for me, there's almost a little bit of a self-diagnosis thing that we do.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, that I do, where I'm like, I can't pay attention. All of these
I got ADHD.
Yeah, I'm definitely ADHD. And I walk through my life almost with it as almost like a badge of honor.
Exactly.
Almost.
Like, girl, I can't focus today. Don't talk to me.
Yes, my ADHD is acting up. And I think a lot of people do that. I think because, yes, it's a buzzword and there's a lot more information about it. So you see yourself in these things and you go, hey, what is the danger of doing that? I'm sure there is much danger. But what is the danger maybe that you've seen or that you know of or anything in that respect?
So I think what happens when you pathologize, that's a word. Yes. When you make an illness out of a symptom, is that you actually don't recognize that life is tough. Life is just hard. This stuff happens. Like, there are painful experiences that people go through. There are down days that you have. There are good days that you have. And so what happens is you don't allow yourself to give yourself elasticity to be able to bounce back, but you also don't push through with resilience. And so what you say is, hey, my ADHD is happening. I can't do this right now. I'm like bouncing out. And then you actually don't get your stuff done. Why I think it's important that we have these talks at Mental Matters, again, is because we say, okay, we understand that there are mental health challenges, there is mental illness, and there is danger signs, or there are danger signs.
Okay.
Right? And we cover all of those.
Yeah.
So if we look at parenting, for example, mental health challenges are when you are pregnant, your brain and your chemistry goes through all of these changes that make it difficult for you to regulate your mood, regulate your emotions, etc. You then get the mental health illness, which is peripartum depression, okay, where because of those changes, there may be risk factors that you had in your life that have now pushed you into having a proper mental illness episode of depression. That means that the the hormones have affected your the chemicals in your brain so much that you're unable to get back to baseline.
Okay.
Which would sometimes happen if, let's say, you're having a down day, you just talk to someone and you feel better, right? That's the illness. The danger sign is now you're neglecting yourself. You're neglecting your baby. You're neglecting to feed the child, or you're wanting to harm yourself or harm the baby. So those are 3 different conditions, right?
Okay.
And I think we can all agree that you can live with peripartum depression, but not necessarily want to harm your child. Those are 3 different conditions, but they're a spectrum. They all fall on a scale. What we try to do at Mental Matters is say, these are the things that happen in everyday life that can predispose you to this illness. But once you have this illness, this is how you can get out of it and get better. And also, what are the danger signs that say you can't wait, you have to act on it now? The other thing we do is once you're out of mental health illness, we must remember that there's mental health maintenance that needs to happen.
Of course, because you're not just fixed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just for everyone. So, for example, if I look at the spirituality and religion event we did, we spoke to when people say that you should pray the issue away. If you have a mental health illness, that's very difficult to do because there's actually medication and there's actual, people you need to see, healthcare professionals you need to see. But once you're out of that, your community definitely can keep you in the loop and prevent you from isolating by inviting you to church events, by inviting you out. You can have a friend who checks in on you. So there are maintenance exercises that anybody can do, not necessarily just only people who are living with mental health diagnoses that are on medication. And that's what we try to focus on. We want people to understand the spectrum, try to recognize which signs show me which area of the spectrum I'm on. But also, is it just a tough day, or is this actually something that I have to do about,
or a tough month, because it spreads, and then the next thing you're saying is like, I'm feeling depressed, and you're just like, well, I hate using that word because I know people who are depressed and I know how serious it can be, but we use it all the time.
Yes.
And I think it's very important what you said, that the 3 stages also, it makes so much sense to me that you could be in one of these pots and not necessarily have to go through all of them. Very important. Very nice. Thank you.
But then Casta.
So is the maintenance of mental health expensive in our country?
I'll speak as someone on the other side of it, and I'll let Nokanya speak as the professional side of it.
See, this is why Mental Matters works, because we have both sides of the coin.
Sure.
Yin to yang. It extremely so. Extremely so. For me, the process that obviously I went through from my first professional addressing of the issue was hospitalization. And private hospitalization at that, of which I didn't check the bill bundle. I was like, shout out to the other medical people. So there was that, and then in that there was, okay, let's go to a psychiatric facility, of which psychiatric facility they were like, okay, recommending 14 days, 21 days, depending on obviously the severity of your condition and where you are. Currently, right? So I've now mentioned 2 hospitalizations, specialists at that, right? Then from there, they're like, okay, I think you're stable enough. Then they'll give you a prescription and say, okay, go get a script or go get your medication. My medication has never cost less than 1,000 rand monthly, right? And then there's the maintenance work of, okay, you need to see a psychiatrist, obviously depending on where you are, either monthly, every 3 months, every 6 months, or whatever. But then in other cases, you have to see a psychiatrist and a psychologist concurrently. Monthly, 3 months, 6 months. Obviously, or weekly, depending on your specific case. So, yeah, to sum up, it's very, very costly. It's very costly. Even for me, a person who has medical aid, I struggled.
So then,
a lot.
Is there then like there's public hospitals that, will treat you for free. Is there like a version of that somebody who can't necessarily afford how expensive it is to look into?
Yes. So every community health center will have some kind of therapist, counselor, social worker, or psychologist that is assigned to that area.
Okay.
The only issue is that because the demand is so high, depending on how many numbers are employed in that center, there might be a very long waiting list, and your need might need you to see someone more regularly, which would then need you to either go to a hospital or have to pay the amount to see a private doctor.
Can I just jump in? In my case, obviously, with the journey I just described now, from the time where it was now serious, where my mental health had taken over my entire existence, it was a matter of, okay, cool, I see that I need to see a psychiatrist, but currently I can only see one in 3 months' time. From the time
that you've seen
from
the
the
need.
time now where it's like, hey, now it's bed.
my gosh.
3 months. Therefore, my GP at the time recommended, okay, the best way for you to bug the system is to go into hospital, general hospital. Then from general hospital, there's a psychiatric hospital where that same psychiatrist saw me, of which I'm still with her to this day. But the I don't know if the scarcity of the profession, I don't know what it is, you can jump in. The scarcity of the profession or the amount of individuals that are struggling currently, I don't know what the balance is. Currently, there's no balance, actually. You know what I mean? It's like this. And if you need to see someone and you need to see someone now, the cost as well, you know what I mean? That in itself has an added cost of, oh, okay, you are now almost man down. You must go see someone now. That's now a specialist or a call out or something that's extra. And as much as we can't expect our medical professionals to always be on call
For sure.
or see how now 500 off, you know what I mean? Now, but they've invested in the skill set to ensure that they give you a quality service. So there's that's going on in society.
No, for sure.
And then maybe that's where we try to bridge to say, okay, cool, this is where. So we try assist you in recognizing something within self or your community with enough time. Because as much as fine, we're not doing the work for you, but we're giving you enough to do the work for yourself in time, which also saves you money somewhere in the scale of things.
Why are you so expensive, girls?
Well, I mean, if you think of it, you see, the thing is, because there's so much talk around mental health and looking at mental health should actually be what they call a primary healthcare benefit. So it means that in the same way that, you know, some of these big insurance companies or medical aid companies incentivize you by when you exercise or whatever, they give you points.
Smoothies.
Mental health is moving towards that, where you try to improve your health when you're not ill, and you try to make sure that you're seeing someone regularly. That's where we should actually be going, because we can't only wait for someone to be ill,
For someone
be
to
seen.
snap, literally.
The problem is there aren't enough providers around, and also the demand is so high because, like we said, everyone on this planet Earth will have some mental health challenge at some point, right? So because of that, you find that medical aid schemes are quite expensive when it comes to mental health care. And even if you've had a diagnosis before and you change to a medical aid, they will have exclusions or they will have waiting periods. You also find, even with emergency admissions, you might find that they'll pay for certain parts of the admission. So you will get the bed and you will get the psychiatrist, but you might also need an occupational therapist. You might also need to see a physiotherapist and a social worker, for example. And the medical aid won't cover those. So it's like, what's the point of being admitted if all of the help that I need, I can't get? Because for example, a medical doctor, I have a healthcare plan that I need to effect. But now, because of all of this red tape, I'm unable to do that. And also availability of practitioners. I'm unable to provide my patients with the care that they need.
Well, because there's not enough,
Exactly. And so that's why we try to educate people as much as we can at these seminars as to, okay, if you can't get to an occupational therapist, what can you do? Who can you go to? Especially with children, because they need assessments, etc. Who can you go to if it's not a neurodevelopmental pediatrician, right? Who are the other people you can speak to? Because I think a lot of people don't know that you might not necessarily need a psychiatrist to diagnose you. A psychologist can see you, assess and say, oh, you actually might need a psychiatrist because you need medication for this treatment. Then they refer you on. Some people just need a psychologist. They need someone to help them work through the issues. Cognitive behavioral therapy, help them change the patterns that get them into this behavior. And it's actually not illness that is getting them into these behaviors.
True. Are there free services for psychologists?
There are free services for psychologists in state again, but they may be expensive. Some psychologists actually do pro bono work, so they might have that allowance for themselves in their offices, but you would have to ask them, individually. I don't know anyone personally who does do that, but it would be one of those things where you would reach out and say, would you be able to do this for me? But definitely in government, if they're available, they are present, but it's usually very long. And so that's why we always try to encourage people. Sometimes what you need is someone who listens to you, not necessarily to do anything with what's happening with you.
Just to unload.
You just want to say, I'm so frustrated. Like, this child is like so annoying because they come home and all they want to do is play with me the whole day, and I've got work, and don't they understand? And someone can listen to you and be like, yes, they want to play with you because they miss you. And that's the perspective you needed. You didn't need to pay 1,500 Rand. You didn't need to sit for an hour or 6 months therapy session. You just needed someone to be like, oh, my child actually copies me or follows me around the house because they love me. That's how they're showing me they love.
100%. So I always ask this question here towards the end, and it's about purpose, right? And that's only because I struggle with purpose. So I'm always like, what do you see about this? Tell me more. I'm trying to copy. So what is the purpose? Are we fulfilling the purpose? And what is the purpose? Let's start with that.
Oh, look at me.
You got names.
It's your turn.
I think for me, it's a purpose of self. You know what I mean? It's a work that I believe I've been told to do the work.
Okay.
And I think that's also why it has challenges.
Of course.
But all of them have always been overcome throughout until fruition of the seminar. So for me, in self, I do believe I'm living in purpose.
Okay.
And because of that, the fruits of the word I was given, I only hope you get it as well. It touches you and it changes your life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, purpose comes from God. It comes from listening and trying to understand when I do something, does it kind of align with that vision that I hear him say to me? It's difficult because I've always, like, if I have an idea in my head, I'm like, go with it. And then sometimes I'll be like, okay, this is actually not working out, and realize God is saying, yeah, that's an idea you had. You didn't have to do everything, that comes into your mind.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing with purpose is, again, for me, I look at myself as a real girl in a big world tasked by an awesome God to help serve his people. And so if everything I'm doing is not helping or serving someone in some way or another, then what am I doing like on this earth? So I think with mental matters, what I really appreciate is even if I don't know it, someone who came to our event is going to go home and they're going to be able to either share that information, they're going to help someone identify something, that they need help with. They're going to be able to help themselves with the tools that they need, or maybe use one of the contacts of the people that were at our seminars that are going to help them, get onto the path of mental health. And for me, I think I don't look at the direct impact I have. I look at the indirect impact.
Sure.
Because even if I don't know, it would be lovely if someone comes and tells me, I, came to your event and this is what happened. But I understand, being a pediatrician, being the person who works with the child, I work with the family. And even if I don't necessarily meet the rest of the family, I know the information I talk to those parents is going to go back.
Sure.
So I can trust that the information that people learn at our seminars is going to go back and help their communities, and in that way help me fulfill my purpose.
That's amazing. I feel like every time I've asked anyone about the purpose, it always kind of boils down to helping the next human, which gives me so much hope in the human race. It's like, we're all doing such different things, but at the end of it, we're just like, I just want to help someone else. That's all I want to do. And that for me is, I'm a glass half empty kind of girl. It's always like,
yeah,
we're all here trying to help each other.
But I always think we think of purpose as helping people we don't know. Sometimes purpose can be, and I said this recently, sometimes your purpose can be just to raise your child beautifully, is to listen to your child read. Because when that child feels confident enough to read to you, You don't know that they're going to become a public speaker or write their own books one day. Watching them kick the ball or saying, oh, mama, that's a great move. Do it again. Show mommy, tata, mama. You don't know that the confidence that they get from you, like watching them dance, is going to lead them to be a great dancer one day.
100%.
So we often underestimate how the small daily moments in our lives
with our close community, yes,
can be part of the purpose,
of our purpose,
we have.
100%.
And even though it doesn't have necessarily the world-changing impact that we would hope, I hope and pray that whenever you feel that moment of connection with another person, that is feeding into the purpose that you have for your life.
Yep. Amen. All right. Let us know where people who are interested in joining one of the sessions can get a hold of you guys. And yeah, that's about it.
We are available on all social platforms at Mental Matters _SA and then Mental Matters South Africa on LinkedIn. But it's consistent across the board.
Okay, perfect. And the next session is on the 7th of June. So if you're interested, please hit them up on their social media. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies. You guys are doing the Lord's work, literally.
Thank you.
There's so many broken people out there, not knowing that they're broken and not understanding that people around them are broken, and just to be able to talk to people firstly about mental health matters, also just ingrains a be careful with human beings around you in me, where you're just like, you don't know what someone's going through. People are rude to you, people are whatever, but you know, there's a lot going on. So thank you. The purpose is in effect, and it's beautiful to watch. I'm definitely going to try come. Yeah.
Just in closing, I think with just saying, or obviously I know you're trying to just get the message across, but in saying a broken person or everybody's imperfect in some way, you know, I urge the people listening to this and watching this just to give yourself grace.
Okay.
Allow yourself grace. Allow yourself kindness. Be gentle with yourself. Be kind with yourself. And at most times, everybody's doing the best they can with what they have. Acknowledge that of self, even before other people say, when I'm up if we're right and you see in self, accept self, and then let the rest, God's going to take care of the rest. Flow from there. So just be gentle.
That's a great message. Thank you. Any final words from you?
Yeah, in the Bible, they always talk about when you, instead of focusing on the speck in someone else's eye, think about the log in your own. I'm paraphrasing.
Yes.
But I always say to myself, whenever someone treats me with, disrespect or whatever, it's exactly like you're saying. That is a speck in their eye. I'm probably going through a whole lot of other things that I need to deal with. And on a different day, it would be a different behavior. This thing probably wouldn't bother me. But because yesterday I had a fight with Smanbani, now this thing is annoying me. And I think we have to remember that every single person has their own challenges that they need to deal with. And when you give yourself grace, but also give other people grace, you also start to realize that life is just difficult. It's not always an illness. It's not always a diagnosis. Find the things and systems in your life that are going to help improve the patterns, help improve the behaviors, and help improve the habits, so that it becomes part of your character and your personality to be mentally healthy and improve your mental wellness.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming, ladies.
Thank
you
you
got something else?
I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you to you. I want to say thank you to Dr. Nobukanya for being my ride or die, and for us doing the work together. It does not go unnoticed.
No, 100%. Makwande ladies, I wish it
so
just
much.
gets bigger and better for you guys as well. Thank you guys for watching as well. And if you have a small business or you're an entrepreneur or you have something that you feel is important to talk about, please don't hesitate to contact us on info@connectabiz.co.za and we'll contact you. And from me, we'll see you next time. Bye.